For a very long period of time, Hummer was not so friendly to the environment and basically was the poster child of a gas guzzler. But a couple of years ago, GM decided to change all of that and rewrite Hummer's history into the vehicle that I'm actually sitting in front of now. This is the 2022 Hummer EV. And we get to play with it today. We are currently here at Florida Fine Cars. If you guys have any interest in this specific vehicle itself, we will actually put the link to the website in the description below. Make sure you ask for John. Next, we're going to take a look at the outside of this vehicle, show you guys the lighting, the cool little Easter eggs that come along with this, and yes, we will be crab walking this. So let's get to it. So starting at the front of the brand new Hummer EV, you can actually see the front end itself is one of the most unique designs I think we've ever come across on any vehicle that we've reviewed so far as the design and the lighting up front. These are incredibly cool with the sequentials and also to the daytime running lights show up pretty bright as well. Now the really cool thing about this vehicle is the sheer fact of the number of what you'll see known as the H. The H obviously is the first letter of the Hummer, but there are Easter eggs of this H reminiscent on this entire vehicle. So we're actually going to show you a couple areas right now. Front headlights, kick plates, air vents, vertical, door handle, rear AC vents, front center vent, your taillights, rear third brake light, center caps. The stats on this vehicle are actually extremely impressive. So let's start with the first one, the price tag. This one, the MSRP, starts right around $110,000. The range is right around early 300, so about 320. And the power that this vehicle has is absolutely mind-blowing. So the base trim with the normal battery pack is actually 800 horsepower. I said that, 800 horsepower from a fully electric vehicle. The pound-feet of torque output, now that's not the actual amount that hits the ground, but the output from the three combined motors is actually over 11,000 pound-feet of torque. 11,000 pound-feet of torque from the output on three motors in this vehicle. So we're actually going to go over some of the quirks that make this vehicle incredibly unique, but one of the quirks that actually shares with its GM bloodline with its other vehicles, its GMCs and its Chevy pickups is actually the rear gate. This one's a little bit more unique though, so you actually have a two-stage gate, if you will. First button unloads this first half of the tailgate itself. If you have like extended pieces of wood you have to put in here, it's actually pretty handy to keep the wood up so you don't have to worry about it. So if you shut this, when you click the next button, the entire gate comes down like a typical truck would. The really cool thing on this one though is if we were to press the first button again, it drops down. When you hit this one, you now have a step. But the really cool option that this vehicle has is integrated rear speakers. Another unique feature about the rear of this vehicle is the fact that this one actually has the added factory spare tire holder. And as you can see, it does take up a fair amount of room for this vehicle, but it looks really cool. And I guess the usability at some point is a little bit easier. You need to use it from being underneath the vehicle itself. Also like you to notice that this actually has a retractable handle. When you actually want to step into the vehicle, it gives you something to grab onto. It's kind of a unique feature. On this side of the vehicle, you actually have a 120 outlet. So you have things to run off of that, margarita machine, microwave, blender, you can go ahead and do it here. Now, a really cool Easter egg on this vehicle, and again, we'll go over more, but in this one is the fact that it actually says Hummer EV on the inside of the rear taillight. These taillights themselves are one of the coolest looking taillights I think are actually available in the market themselves. You have the H again, but it's actually vertical. And then on the inside of itself is the brake light and the reverse light. Another really cool and interesting feature about this vehicle is the fact that the roof actually comes out. In the rear, you have two panels that are removable. In the front, you have two additional panels that are removable. Unfortunately, in the rear, the center bar is not removable. But fortunately, in the front, it is. So you end up having a vehicle that you can stand up in. There's a good view from up here. Now, one thing we always check on any EV is the Frunk. And yes, the brand new Hummer EV does have that Frunk. You can operate it from the key fob itself, or there's actually a button underneath the front bumper. You just tap it and it will automatically open for you. Now, as you can see in this vehicle, it actually houses the glass panels we talked about a little while ago for the vehicle itself. They're actually wrapped up in here. We're not going to take these out of the bags. We're going to leave them as is. But you can actually see there is a sizable and useful amount of trunk space up here. The other thing we'd like you to notice is how the load area is actually flat. So when you decide to put stuff in here, you're not leaning over the top because this truck is actually extremely tall. So it's super easy and convenient when you have a front loading area that's flat. Now, closing the frunk is just as easy as it was before. You find the button underneath the front bumper, give it a tap, and it closes automatically. Now, the inside of this vehicle is on a completely different level. And by level, I actually mean the moon. And you're saying, what do you mean the moon? Well, take a look at this. Hidden within the inside of this vehicle itself are little nods to the moon, and that is because GMC decided that this was going to be their moonshot. So they're celebrating the fact that this vehicle is their moonshot. If you look all over the vehicle, particularly in the side door panels on the speaker covers, that is actually the layout and topography of the moon itself. In addition, that is a footprint of when we landed on the moon. Another really cool feature on the Hummer EV is the fact that you have a 360-degree camera system that includes the sides, the front, the back, and under the vehicle. Now, moving on to the technology that's actually packed into the brand new Hummer EV, I think that Hummer actually took it a step further to add in some of the coolest technology that is out on the market right now. For example, this entire center stack, you notice we were talking about the moon landing earlier. In the background, you can actually see what appears to be the topography of the moon itself. The home screen is actually your typical home screen, if you will, aside the cool details that are in here. Here you can control your audio, you can use Google Maps, you can control your phone, your energy consumption, Google Assistant, and also Android Store. There's multiple different screens in this, and we're not going to go into detail every single one, but the one really cool one that we showed it before is the camera side of it. And this one actually has what is known as a front camera washer. So when you go to the front camera that's underneath the vehicle, these are the two front wheels, you tap and hold this, it actually cleans the front camera for you. Now, the really cool thing about this entire center screen, and specifically when you change the vehicle mode itself, you'll notice that the graphics come up are very unique and very, very cool. They actually collaborated with Epic Games to make these different changes and the graphics that actually go along with it. So we're actually going to change a couple of these modes now, and you can see how incredibly cool and detailed this actually is. Now, if you notice in the tow haul mode, it's actually hauling a rocket. Inside of this screen itself, you have the option to go to this screen, and this actually gives you a little bit more detail, yes, on your drift angle. It will actually give you your pitch, your roll when you are off-roading, which is actually a good idea just to be safe. And then it will give you individual wheel output at each wheel itself. Now, obviously I can't touch on that, I won't do anything, but it will actually show you the meter of the full power output of that one. With the focus being so much on off-roading for this vehicle, they've integrated so many cool different things. For example, you click on this one here, you can actually air down your tires to a specific PSI, and this vehicle will honk its horn when each wheel has reached that PSI. That's a really cool feature. You can also integrate any auxiliary functions in this vehicle itself. There are 6 options. You can choose which one does what. In this example, we actually have the added on option of the front fog lights that are on the hood itself. So this one is actually named the front fog lights. The really cool thing is you can actually go in and change the icon for each auxiliary button. And then GM decided to take it one step further and do a little bit of digs towards its competitors. If you notice here, that is a T-Rex or a Raptor. That is a T-Rex or a Raptor. I wonder who they were going for on that one. One really cool setting in this vehicle is you can change it to what's known as watts to freedom, which then unleashes all of the power at all 4 wheels itself. So if we go over to the traction control button, and if you notice, we're back on the moon. Again, a huge thanks to the team at Florida Fine Cars of West Palm Beach for letting us film with this incredibly rare GMC Hummer EV. This one is currently for sale, so if you have any interest in getting into the driver's seat, be sure to click the link in the description below. But it is without a doubt that GM completely rewrote Hummer's future and perhaps has evolved the benchmark of electric trucks as we know it. We are genuinely impressed in the performance, the design, the tech, the attention to detail, and the future of GM and Hummer's electrified capabilities. There is truly nothing like this on the road or off-road. That excited sentiment is captured in this glorious outtake.
Hummer, Hummer,